I've been getting asked a lot recently, why coaching and how do you get this in your own school district? And so I kind of want to talk about how you can go from good to great instructional practices in your school, your district, with an instructional coach. But again, it depends on how it is implemented, it depends on what the coach is doing, and if the coach is being intentional on the cycle and the different activities to grow teachers in the right direction. So there are a lot of factors that come into a great instructional coaching program. And just because you might have coaches doesn't mean you have a great program. It's what the implementation is doing is going to decide if you're going from good to great. So let's go ahead and dive into why coaching. So, this research study done by Joyce and Showers really talks about different training components and the outcomes based on participants. And so they did different components again of training. So, studying of theory, demonstrations, practices, and peer coaching. As you can quickly see from their research, peer coaching was 95 in knowledge, skills, but also transfer. So, just knowing something like a theory or demonstration, that knowledge in those two areas is kind of there, right? Like you know it. But we want teachers to be able to take that information, have the skills, and transfer that knowledge into their classroom. And where you can see that most growth is happening is when it comes to peer coaching. And so when teachers are going through that cycle of a coaching cycle, which we're going to get to, that's when you're going to see, again, that most transfer when it comes to peer coaching. And so I love this quote. Teachers respond best to a coach that they know supports them. And it's not evaluative, it's just they know exactly that this coach is there for them. They're their fan, they're cheering them on, and they are there to listen to them when they need to be listened to. And they're meeting that teacher exactly where that teacher is without overwhelming them. And I think this is sometimes hard because as a coach, you sometimes are in the middle, right? You've got your admin or your district goals, and then you have the teacher. And again, teachers respond best to a coaching model when they know that that coach responds and supports them, and they're not judging or evaluating them. Okay, so again, building that relationship is huge when it comes to coaching, and that's the first step when you're kind of looking at all this different research on coaching is teachers that have really good relationships with coaches are the ones that are making the most improvements. And that comes with a lot of different research as well when it comes to psychological safety. So, if we're looking at psychological safety, we want teachers to feel safe in an environment where they can share, hey, I'm struggling with this and I just need help. And when they're open and they get to that point in their career, that coach can jump in and be a supportive person to that teacher. And that's when you're going to start seeing growth. However, if you don't see that and a teacher feels more so maybe controlled, they might say they're doing different instructional strategies or best practices, but really they're closing their door because they feel evaluative. They feel like they're being controlled. And so again, that relationship, it comes with trust, it comes with time, but you've got to build those relationships first. And you can see that in a lot of different research when it comes to psychological safety, or when you're just kind of trying to build relationships with teachers. Keep that in mind. And so here is the coaching cycle. So basically, there's a ton of different coaching cycles out there. Jim Knight, um, Elena Aguilera, Google, Apple, all of these different places and things and people have their own unique kind of coaching cycle, right? But basically, it comes down to these four parts. You're going to identify the goals, you're going to investigate and select, implement, and reflect. Those are basically the four parts of a coaching cycle. And what kind of happens then with Jim Knight and maybe Diane Sweeney or Aguilera or all of these different models are just different ways to kind of approach each of these different areas. Now, they might be called or use different vocabulary, but this is the core of a coaching cycle within all of those different models. And so, how and why does the research say that you need instructional coaching? The first thing is improved teacher efficacy. This is a John Hattie kind of research with visual learning that has kind of come in instructional coaching. When we have that improved teacher efficacy, we are able to improve that confidence. And when teachers' confidence is improved, they are more likely to show that they know their content, that they know the instructional strategies, and they feel comfortable doing those different things. Also, they can use the coach to kind of help them maybe with different instructional rounds where they're able to go in and observe other teachers, and then they can collaborate with one another. Hey, I saw you doing this awesome strategy with your students that have different disabilities. Would you mind sharing that activity? Or, hey, I saw you do this gamified activity that really grabbed your students' attention. And when you have teachers talking like that instead of a competitive environment, you're going to see student growth, because our ideas will grow off of each other when we use that yes and mentality compared to just a no but environment. So again, having those PLCs and that instructional coach can really help guide those conversations when they are allowing teachers to collaborate and communicate, and they can talk highly about different things that teachers are doing in those different classrooms. Another one is improved instructional practices. Your instructional coach can go and research all of these different instructional strategies, and then they'll know what to use, when to use them. So engagement strategies, formative assessment, differentiated instruction, maybe using some of Mallow's practices or Bloom's taxonomy or depth of knowledge. Your instructional coach is able to dive into that research and provide teachers with those different models. One ways I like to do these is with HAL takeovers, where I might have a new game-based approach. So I've done the research, I've looked at all of the different implementations for this, and I just ask the teacher, what are you teaching? When can I come in? And I just model it. Again, student engagement might be the focus or the goal for that teacher, and I'm able to go in and model that instructional strategy for that teacher. So coaches are able to model, or they can even co-teach or provide different teachers those strategies when they might feel stuck in their planning or in their different activities. Increase student achievement. So a lot of different studies have shown that when students have a teacher that is working with a coach, typically have higher levels of achievement, because they're able to brainstorm back and forth with that coach. That coach is able to come into the classroom, again, non-evaluative, but looking for different things where they can say, hey, I see this in your students. I see maybe this student is doing this. Let's think about ways that we can support that student. But again, it comes with that trusting relationship in order to have some of these very difficult conversations that are needed to be had. Better classroom management. So instructional coaching can help teachers develop that classroom management skills, leading to maybe more positive learning environments for students. And a lot of times, maybe you might kind of have a class that is very chatty. Well, an instructional coach can, again, dive into different research-based strategies when it comes to classroom management and provide that teacher with some maybe games that help with maybe like the teacher versus the student, or to help with some of those executive functioning skills that that teacher might be lacking or some of their students might be lacking. And they're able to tell them, hey, have you thought about presenting this information in this way? Or have you thought about doing this in this way? And providing that other lens can allow them time and reflection on that classroom management, and using just a question like, hey, what routine or what procedure might not be in place? And then they can brainstorm back and forth by asking just different questions to use as a reflection, like a mirror, and to improve that classroom management, improve that environment. And if you have a really healthy coaching teacher relationship, again, creating that psychologically safe environment too. Teachers are seeing that modeled with the coach by using that yes and language, that when they have their classroom, they are able to use some of that language that they're learning from the coach of active listening and how to work with others in their own classroom to drive that instruction and to drive that classroom culture. Positive impact on school culture. So again, talking about that psychological safe environments, right? Where the instructional coach again is creating that yes and environment. They're using active learning or um, listening, and then they're able to positively change that school culture. And so, if you have a really good instructional coach, that coach is able to listen in to different classrooms and share those positive impacts that those teachers are doing with other teachers in their school to create, again, that collaborative workforce that we want to have. Also, your instructional coaches can build those relationships with other teachers, and they can remember those birthdays and the kids and all of those different factors to make it feel like that teacher's well-being in the school, it does matter, and what they do matters on a daily basis. But again, it all depends on implementation. You can have all of these models and you've seen all the research, but it doesn't matter unless you implement every single step of that coaching cycle. And you have to have those relationships. If you don't have those relationships in place, again, all of this does not matter. If teachers do not like you, they will not want to work with you. And so all of your research on instructional strategies or all of your research on classroom management strategies won't matter because they want to be able to trust you in order for you to come into their classroom. And so here are just some other videos on coaching. If you are like, okay, I'm interested in learning some skills to implement or use the language in coaching or for active listening, again, these are just some different videos that you can explore. But again, it's all about focusing in on that teacher and building that relationship and then meeting them exactly where they are and implementing that practice and focusing in on that coaching cycle.